Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Whatever I'm Obsessed With This Time podcast. Today we are going to talk about returning to something that you enjoy after a long break. And boy, do I have a really interesting story for you. Finally, we have sunlight so that I don't look dead inside. This is a perfect spot. First thing I want to address. I'm downstairs because I am waiting for a package to come for my sister. I have to sign for it, and it's supposed to come within the next 10 days, I believe. Pretty sure next 10 days. But let's just jump into the podcast. So on February 3rd. So on February 3rd, I had major plans. I was at my dad's place, and I wanted to obviously do the podcast episode. What else did I want? There was the podcast episode. The lyrics thing kind of came into fruition, I think, the night after I'm pretty certain it was the night after I did the podcast. However, the recording of the gameplay took about 3 tries, and in total, really about 9 hours to actually get the gameplay portion up. Which, speaking of gameplay, when I did that poll, only one person voted for Facecam, so I'm going to come up with Facecam, and if you want gameplay, just say you want gameplay, but I'm not doing 2 different things if people are only going to watch the Facecam one. So during that day, I wanted to do the podcast, I had to get the gameplay done, as well as the lyrics video, which was the night of, and then it becomes the next day. I was waiting for it to be 12 so that I could do my orders on World War II. And I took a nap for an hour, wake up, Wi-Fi is gone, and it wasn't your typical thing with restart the router and it's back. I restarted the router probably about 6 times, and it still kept saying connected, can't provide internet access. And my dad was away, so I texted him, I called him, and we got to the point where he told me to leave it unplugged for an hour, and I actually left it unplugged for 3 hours so I could come here and help my mom and sister out with some chores. And I go back, still no internet, so then he called the internet provider. He walked me through a step to completely reboot the router, and still wasn't online. So then they had to have someone come to the house. They did it through the vehicle, and then I got it on February 4th. So my main plan on February 4th was to, and keep in mind, I had the Facecam portion of the podcast done. So it was really just, it was unlisted, but I wasn't uploading it until I could upload both of them. So the gameplay probably took about maybe 4 hours to upload, because again, I wanted it in 1080p, and I think it was like, I forget how long, was it 18 minutes? I think it might have been 18 minutes. So with that whole situation was very annoying, but that's not to say that nothing good didn't come out of it. While I was waiting the next day for the guy to come to the house, I recorded some new material, and at the time I was gonna make it a part of Torn Postcards, but realistically thinking, Torn Postcards is kind of mostly one thing when it comes to the end of the day, which was a project I made, not knowing how to play the guitar, playing a guitar that was missing strings, and also playing it while it was out of tune at points, and coming up with songs while doing that. Now, with this new one, it's definitely more fleshed out. Um, it's a little bit rough, but not entirely like torn postcards. So I just felt like, you know what, I'm just gonna name it something else. And I've been waiting, I've been holding on a name for a very long time, and I'm gonna call it what I want to call it. You will find out whenever the first single releases. Now that being said, that whole situation was annoying. Um, Once my first episode was done of the podcast, I was trying to record, or the episode that was supposed to be next, at the time that I felt like was appropriate, was sad songs that hit you at the right moments. And I don't know why I was thinking, like, for gameplay wise, I was still thinking about the gameplay stuff, and gameplay wise I was thinking like Just Cause 4. So I ended up with the Thunder Barge mission, and I ended up wasting how much time? I ended up wasting about 3 hours of that, of realizing that I was playing a cloud streaming service game. So I played that for literally no reason, and that was time wasted on my part. But at the end of the day, like, with what I've learned from this whole thing is that, man, does it feel good, like, after that long break when you can't, like, you can't do the stuff you want to do. You can't do the podcasts. You can't do whatever video you want, topic you want to talk about at the moment. Whenever the internet comes back and you can release all that stuff again and you can play your games, damn, does it feel good. It feels really good. Um, and I don't even just focus on that. I focus on the amount of work that I got out of on my break with the acoustic stuff. So, like, really, I felt so accomplished when I also felt like, when I didn't have the internet, I felt like I was in dead ends. Like, I was like, man, like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. How am I gonna tell, like, because I also, like, wrote a community post saying that, like, oh yeah, this is coming out tonight, or this is coming out today, all to find out that the internet's gone. You have to wait another day for it to release. It was a little bit of a hassle, but since I went through that whole situation, I know for next time. Well, now I know. Now I kind of have a better idea not to waste my time. Like, that Just Cause 4 thing really pissed me off. But hey, it was my fault. I should have used my brain. And if I was at home and I lost Wi-Fi, well, I have a physical copy. And if I had the digital version, there would have been no complaining. Now, before this, when I had my PS3 at my dad's place, I would normally just, internet's gone, I would load up probably Rainbow Six Vegas 2 and just play on my PS3. But since that's home now, I didn't have that luxury, and there's just the PS5 and the PS4. I had movies to watch, but I really just wanted to play my guitar and see what I could come up with, because I did say that there was going to be a part 2 for the acoustic stuff, and yeah, it's some of the best work I've ever. It is the best work that I've ever made. Songwriting, overall atmosphere, the vibes. It's definitely some of the best piece of work that I've made. Now, that being said, I don't know if there were, like, I knew that this was going to be a short episode, and there wasn't a whole lot of stuff to include within this. But, I did say that it all depends on the material I have at the end of the day to determine how long each episode's going to be. I'm sorry if this is not the type of podcast episode you were expecting, but this was like the first thing, or this was the first topic that I really wanted to get done, because that whole experience was just, it made me realize that, like, whenever I have my own place and I have to go through that, I have to find alternatives. You can't just rely on the internet all the time. And I wouldn't say I'm chronically online. Like I wouldn't say that I'm online like all the time. But whenever you don't have that like the ability to create something that you want to create at that time and moment in time, you have to switch to something else because you can't just be sleeping and thinking about what you're going to do. I mean, you could write down your ideas, but you can't just be focusing on something that you can't do in that moment. You got to move on. But yeah, that's this episode. The next episode will be finally covering, and I have a little bit of stuff to add on to it. The sad songs that hit you at the right moment. It's going to be a really fun episode. Again, if you want a gameplay version of this podcast for whatever episode, just tell me. I will. If you want me to like just write a community post, I think I'll just write a community post and then you can respond in the community post, or you could just respond in the comment section. It's up to you. But that being said, 11 minutes. Peace.